I moved the some Casper from one wallet to another, right? And at the time, there was only the command line interface wallet. It wasn't any slick, beautiful wallets as we have now. And you have to type in the commands, and you have to make sure you're typing in your wallet correctly and all that sort of stuff. And I hit enter, switched to the other wallet, and it was already there. And I'm like, I'd heard people talking about Casper and speed, but until I saw it, I was like, hey, I need to kind of double check this, right? And yeah, it was like, wow, we're able to send coins at this speed, but using proof of work, right? Now, obviously, there's other projects on proof of stake, but philosophically, after kind of looking into it and seeing where my heart lies, proof of work really is where I aligned to, right? And so seeing that, like, wow, you could transfer, coins. Like, this is let's get deeper into it. And so I suppose the rest is history. But the biggest takeaway from when I really sort of joined the community and started kind of just asking questions was the caliber of the people in the community was so high, the technical knowledge. Now, I have a little bit, I have a technical background, but I'm by no means the same caliber as some of our wizard developers. I'm not a developer myself,
Mm.
but hearing the way they talk about it and that's the stuff, I was like, holy crap. So, it's a little bit of a journey, but yeah, arrived there with that.
Okay. Thanks, Luke. So
Yeah.
we have viewers at all different stages. Some people are beginners, some people are more tech heads, investors, and people that are hoping, they've put money into Caspa as an investment and they hope that, maybe it will be money in the future. But I know this and the lads know this, but for people who don't know, why do we need Caspa? We have Bitcoin, we have Solana, we have Tron, we have all these other cryptos. Why do we need Caspa, and why do you think Caspa is better than the rest?
That's a good question. So, look, I think the way that I look at it is, there's Casper does a lot of things. Like, if you take it back to the basics, right? Casper achieves what was previously thought to be impossible, right? Achieving the level of speed and security, but utilizing proof of work, and having it, have the level of throughput. 1 block per second in itself is a technical breakthrough, right? Previously, there was no proof of work network or project that was able to achieve that, right? So when I look at it, I say, why do we need Casper, right? So can I take it back to the fundamentals, right? So for me, when I was doing the philosophical searching of what I'm doing and why we're doing crypto and what's the purpose here, I mean, I take it back to the cypherpunk roots of Bitcoin, right? You know, the ability to have something that is censorship resistant and decentralized, that cannot be controlled by any one entity. Now, obviously, Bitcoin does that, and it does that fantastically well, right? No one can dispute the way in which it does that, right? But there is a lot to be said about the speed, right? And obviously, some people have differing opinions, and it's totally fine. They can see it as a feature, they could see it as a potential negative, see it as you will. But I see, Casper as taking the fundamentals of that security, and bringing it into where we are today, right? So when you look at technology, right, you don't I'm betting all of you guys probably have a phone that's within the last couple of years, right? It's a phone that probably has a camera on it. It's a phone that probably has the ability to look at the internet, but it's not a Nokia 3310, right? Maybe you do use that, maybe you don't. I'm not sure, but I look at it like that, right? Obviously, you can still make phone calls with a Nokia 3310. You can still, send a message, and it does the job, but technology evolves, right? And so when I look at Casper, the technology has definitely, taken what we've learned from other protocols, other projects, and applied it in a way that will enable, future growth, right? So I see Casper as kind of like it's the base layer that can be utilized for almost anything. So, without getting super nerdy on you, I'm not sure your sort of technical knowledge of obviously the amazing guests here today, but I see Casper as kind of like TCP/IP. right? So if you're from the networking world or you know anything about IT, TCP/IP is essentially the protocol that underpins what we're using right now, our connectivity between each other. It is a protocol that exists on every single device that networks, right? And it enables communication between devices, right?
Yeah.
Does it care what goes on top of it? No. As long as it goes within the bounds of what it says it needs to do, the packets get delivered, and people can utilize it for, delivering HTML or JavaScript or whatever the hell they want to deliver, right? Or some sort of, connectivity. And I see Casper as like that. It's kind of the network that has all of the amazing qualities that we've learned that we need to have on a network, decentralization, security, but it has the speed to enable us to use it like internet like speed, right? Internet like speed to 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 purchase, to exchange, to utilize, right? And obviously there's arguments to be said by a lot of different people that say, well, we have that with Solana or we have that with whatever, and that's totally fine if you feel that the qualities of those type of networks that satisfy your requirements, because everyone's net different. Maybe their definition of decentralization or their definition of uptime is different to some other people. But when you look at a network that has those types of qualities but can offer that speed, it's there's so much more there. So when people say, "Why do we need Casper?" I see it as being the network, the base layer that the entire crypto world can sit on top of in the future. It may not be today, it may not be tomorrow, but the amazing developers, the wizards, as many people like to refer to them as, have built this thing and taken their time and considered the options to enable amazing things in the future. So, a long-winded answer. I can obviously expand on that a little bit more if you like, but yeah, that's
Mhm.
kind of how I see it.
Yeah, no, that's good. No, brilliant. No, I work with fiber every day, and the way I look at it, to put it simply, is if somebody has a broadband connection, they're not going to go with one that's slow. They're not going to one that shuts down all the time. They want one that's reliable, is cheap, and fast. So it's kind of the same thing with crypto. But yeah, no, that's
That's
no,
that's
thanks.
it. It's like going from copper to fiber, right?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
copper is probably in many countries still to this day, right? But the fiber connectivity is, the speed of
yeah,
light.
definitely, yeah,
Right?
yeah, definitely. Thanks for that.
Yeah, no problem.
Hey, what's going on, Luke? Thanks for
Yeah.
joining. I had my mic on mute. I'm on baby duty right now, so I want to make sure. I think she's finally falling asleep, so I might actually be able to stick around for the whole stream. Um,
Oh, awesome.
but I wanted to ask. This might be like a really simple elementary style question, but like, what is the I guess the protocol, if you will? How do you become a Kaspa ambassador? I think a lot of people out there kind of wonder that because they have one for each. Well, not probably each country, but there's one per region out there. It seems like. And what is the uh, I guess the steps involved? How do you get to that level?
Yeah, yeah, no problem. So the ambassador program is a lovely sort of initiative because, as you guys probably are aware, and maybe some of the community may not be, so I'll kind of mention, Casper doesn't spend money on traditional marketing. Where the community obviously can fundraise for marketing initiatives, and if those fundraising initiatives get off the ground, obviously you could see Casper in any sort of marketing initiative, but because there's no allocation of funds to a treasury. There's no marketing budget like some other projects that are spending millions of dollars a month on putting their project on the side of a bus, right, or putting their project on a billboard in Times Square or whatever, right? And so that leads to many different interesting ways to get the knowledge out there to people, because I think the biggest thing, and what I found when I first joined the community, as I said before, was the caliber of the people in the community who are knowledgeable about the tech is I think unlike any other community, right? So one of the initiatives was, let's find people in the community that are definitely keen on taking it kind of to the next level, because obviously there's amazing people on X, people on YouTube, people on all social media platforms who share Casper every day. um, but there's a series of people that kind of want to take it to the next level. Like, how can we organize events? How can we do meetups? How can we do online streams just like you guys are doing right here? And so the ambassador program was kind of born from that. It was like, invest time and energy in people, nurture those connections, nurture that education that they have, and enable them to go on and genuinely share their passion with others. Unlike the unfortunate sort of situation that has come to be normal in the crypto world, where KOLs are paid to talk about things. um, Casper, approach it in many different ways, and obviously one of them is ambassador program, right? So focus on finding those people, bring them up. Of course, they're volunteers. We're not paying them. We're not giving them money to say nice things about Casper. And so that every single interaction that they have, whether it's online or in person, they are genuinely sharing their passion. They're saying, "Hey, this is amazing technology that you really need to look at," right? So I suppose there's a little bit of a background. I'm sorry to kind of roundabout answer to your question, but to join the program, and the way that I look at it, first thing I just say, I see everyone in the community, every single member of the Casper community, as an ambassador. Every single person is an ambassador in their own right. They share information. They do as they please. They educate people, and that is amazing. So I just want to say that, obviously, first and foremost. But where I see the ambassador program sort of being that next step is, there's those people that kind of want to reach out. They want to say, "Hey, I want to network with other people around the world, other ambassadors or other people that want to do this." So to apply to join the program, it's there's a page on the Casper.org page. Up the top, there's a section called ambassadors, I believe it's called. And then there's kind of like an overview of, what is an ambassador, and it really kind of encompasses what I just explained there. It's not about being paid to talk about the project. It's not about how many people can you get to sign up to this wallet. It's not about how many people can like this post. It's about truly embodying the ethos of the community, and ensuring that in every interaction you have with new and existing members, you're trying to educate and provide some value. So go to the page, check out some of the requirements there. And I see it. For those people that apply, that there is definitely a lot of applications, and some people maybe are new to the community. We're obviously looking for passionate new members. But we're looking for people that have been around for a while in the community, and shown their dedication to the program. So, I mean, ultimately, it comes back to everyone is an ambassador. If you would like to network with other people that want to, take it a little bit further, then apply. Definitely jump in there and apply on the form on the website, and connect up. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's one of my favorite things about Caspa is the fact that there is no paid promotion type stuff, so that when anybody is talking about Caspa, whether it be YouTube, whether it be X, whether it be anywhere that you see, people talking positively about it, it's because they genuinely, you know, believe in the project, and believe, um, and have some sort of like or love for the project. Um, and there's no money involved, you know.
I think that's perfect, because I look at it this way, right? If you want to have a small, or like, say if you want to throw down money and pay KOLs to talk about your project, right? They'll talk about your project for 5 minutes, they'll pump it up, and then the next day they'll be talking about the next project. And almost, in my opinion, people can disagree with me, totally fine, but in my opinion, I feel like it's more of a red flag for the project, right? It's like, well, how many KOLs have we paid to talk about us? We've got 20 of these guys on the roster. on Wednesday, this guy will be talking about us. It's like, well, no, the community are passionate people that just want to talk about it because they want to talk about it. They're like, this is truthful, every interaction. And it's funny, like, you attend these big, like I attended Token 2049, right? And so we're at the booth, we were talking to all the lovely people that come past, and you get these people that come past almost like it's like they're going to open their coat and say, hey, which KOL do you want to talk about your project? And I like to kind of flip the script on them, right? Because they go, well, we could get this person to do this, and we can get this person to that. And I go, well, let me just stop you there. But everything that you think you understand about crypto marketing, Kaspa kind of does it the other complete opposite. You think that you need to pay people. They say, yeah, definitely. Well, how else are you gonna get your project known? And I go, well, every sort of social media influencer that I'm aware of is doing it because they passionately love the project, and then the minds just explode. They can't comprehend that people would talk about something without being paid. So it's a sad fact, but it's something that I'm really proud that the community does without payment. So yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, when it's all said and done, the paid promotions run rampant
Oh
in
yeah,
crypto as a whole. So
definitely.
it's refreshing to know that there's at least one project out there that doesn't do any of that.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's we all got to be the it's cheesy, but we got to be the change that we want to see. If we wanna be that positive community that doesn't pay people, that is genuine, then we all need to try and be our genuine souls. And so that's what I try and be, and that's what I see a lot of our community do every single day. It's awesome.
How much time do you think you spend per day just thinking about Caspa, or are you kind of just like just kind of we all have different things. Like me, I'm trying to like not look at my portfolio every day, but I was just kind of curious. And then kind of a second part is like, what do you think the general sentiment just with crypto and in general with Australians? Are they like worried about the inflation down there, or is like kind of really open to crypto?
Definitely. First question is it's a good one. I definitely Casper is seemingly taken over all facets of my life. I think there's definitely a lot of thought that does consume me about different ways that I can educate myself first and foremost. Because I think that's the best takeaway from all of this is educating yourself on something that you may not have previously known. But secondly, how can I try and educate others? I can definitely aspire to be like some of the amazing community members, but how can I do that? So to answer your question, I spent a lot of time, thinking about that. Maybe not so much on the portfolio side. I used to do a lot of thinking about the price action. And frankly, in my personal opinion, it does get you a little bit anxious looking ups and downs. So I personally have taken an approach to just kind of completely disconnect as much as I can from the price. And it sounds cliche, but I do my best. Obviously, do got to check the portfolio every now and again. But yeah, answer your question, probably more than I should. Definitely more than I should. Not that it's a bad thing, but definitely got to try and really make the concentrated effort to touch grass every now and again. Get outside, get the dog out, and play with the dog, and get some nature into me. So yeah, more than I should, but definitely I beneficial from learning. A lot of learning is really amazing. Whether it's through looking at currently I'm trying to push myself for educational development. I'm not a developer at all, but playing around with that sort of stuff and sort of trying to really understand the deeper protocol side, which is fun. So that answered the first question. But or I hope it answers the first question.
Oh yeah, I
um,
think that's good.
but the gist of how it is in Australia. Look, Australia is still we I think that we have an amazing community of crypto enthusiasts. And it was one thing that was really interesting for me to see because you guys may have seen, but for anyone that didn't, we had a Casper booth at a crypto convention in Australia. It's called the Australian Crypto Convention. And so I was in November last year, I think it was, and it was really special for me because coordinated a lot of the team to come down to Australia, right? And actually, as far as I'm aware, it's the most amount of sort of I don't like to use the word that much, but I guess I have to. I suppose most amount of core team members or core contributors to the Casper
Mhm.
project in one place at one time, and so they came down to Sydney in Australia, my city, and the turnout of people was absolutely fantastic. Like, just being at the convention, just at the booth, and seeing the caliber of people that were coming past, it was pretty keen, like pretty exciting, because I've seen, conferences all around the world, and there's always a pretty tight demographic of people that come past. But in Australia, the demographic was quite wide. We had families with their children, families with their baby walking around the conference floor. We had older generation of people asking really fantastic questions about Casper, and so I think um, we are a small by population country, but I do think that we do have a lot of impact on the world with crypto, because I do see a lot of Australian crypto, sort of Australian Casper fans out there. We've got a small community, I think about 200 people in our little Telegram group that we chat with, every now and again. But I think the vibe is everyone's just it's the same around the world, wherever you are at the moment. There is some ups and downs. That's crypto, right? But there's a lot of really passionate people. So yeah, I think it's good. It's a growing community,
Do
and
many people have problems with transferring money from their bank into
oh
the
yeah.
like in the United States? I've never had a problem. I've been able to transfer as much money I want into Coinbase or whatever. I was just curious if that's a little bit
So
more of a roadblock.
it is. It really is. And so in Australia, there is essentially four major banks, right? And I would say three out of four of them are they try to show themselves as being crypto positive, but essentially will freeze your bank account at a moment's notice, right? And I learned this the hard way about 9 months ago, when essentially look, I'm a miner. I prefer to just mine a coin, and I just do it in my own time. But for whatever reason, on the day, I needed access to a specific crypto that I needed to buy, and I made the choice of purchasing it, right, on an exchange, and I think I used like MoonPay as the on ramp or whatever through an exchange, right, to pay from AUD into whatever currency, right, and my account was frozen immediately, right? And it was frozen. It was like a Friday afternoon, and of course, banks don't. They just don't operate apparently after business hours on a Friday onto the Saturday, and they're like, oh well, you don't do this, and so I called them up. Oh yeah, call us back on Monday. So first issue, my accounts were frozen for the entire weekend, right? No access to any funds. I had this is one bank account that has connection to my business bank account, which froze that as well. I had to call them on Monday, and I was treated like a criminal. I called them up. I spoke to them. It took over an hour, and over an hour of hey, what are you doing with this coin? Why are you doing this? Is anyone making you doing this? Like, anyone making you do this? And the whole rigmarole of all of that. And ultimately, I had to basically prove what I was doing. So Australia is still, they're taking the approach that, oh, we want to protect people, right? And that's, there is an element of truth. My one of my favorite genres of YouTube videos is scam baiting,
Mhm.
seeing those type of videos, and they do exist for a good reason. But there has to be a better way of handling this, and because in Australia, when we're handling that everyone is a criminal until proven otherwise in terms of your bank account, yeah, it's a big problem. So
Is there a
yeah,
sliver of Australian politicians that are starting to become more pro crypto like in the United States, or is it
unfortunately not that I'm aware of.
okay?
Australia is still, we have some ways to go. There's some good exchanges, like I definitely gotta say that there is some exchanges that are trying to advocate for this. And obviously that's it's beneficial to them. But I cannot probably put my finger out. But I'm happy if anyone corrects me in the chat or anyone says otherwise, happy to know otherwise. But I'm not aware of anyone who's really staunch positive on making this change. So we're a little bit behind. I think we're always just generally like a little bit behind the states, right, with policies and stuff like that. But I can only hope that by talking about it, we can hopefully find that catch up. So yeah.
Sounds good.
You
Thanks.
know,
I think maybe Black Tiger Miner might have a question or two up his sleeve.
Yeah.
let me jump in real quick. I had issues in the United States with um, transferring crypto or buying crypto, transferring money from my bank as well. It wasn't that the accounts got completely shut down and froze, but they wouldn't let the transfers go through. So I had to really dig deep to try and find a scenario where I could buy crypto in the bear market. I think it's certain banks won't allow it, but it's just amazing to me because I know a lot of people, no matter what country you're in, probably have had this issue. But it's amazing to me that banks won't let you spend your own money on what you want to spend it on, and it's incredible to me.
I I think
Anytime
it's
I think
funny.
about that,
It's absolutely wild to think that, I would say the majority of people, myself included, take it for granted that the money that you say you're aware of that's in your account is, I mean, not to be alarmist or anything, but it's ultimately not your money. It is in the
correct.
hands of others who can do as they please. They can do as
They
they
can
choose
tell
with
you that
it.
you can and can't spend your money certain places.
Exactly.
It's
And
And they
ridiculous.
so
actually might not even have it because they might only have 10 or
yeah,
20%
Yeah.
of your money.
they've
So it
lent it
might not
out
even
to
be there.
someone, and yeah. It's
But they say they
honestly,
want to protect you, but then you're allowed to go gambling, at a casino, later that night and lose, $20,000 if you want to. And
yeah.
it's just incredible what they consider to be
Where were they then when you were pulling out lots of $100 bills at the ATM to go put it
exactly,
into a slot machine or something?
exactly.
They only come in to protect you when it suits them best. Obviously, there is a percentage of that that does achieve the protection, but um, I think ultimately what is, even for me, a little bit of an eye opener, until it happens to you, you do kind of take it for granted, until you need or until you see the value of what crypto can bring. You don't really see the value to why are we doing this? Like what are we doing here, right? And so for me, obviously having more deep philosophical views of it, but then ultimately having that instance where basically had no access to my own money. Luckily, I have another account with another separate bank, but ultimately my account was frozen for 3 days straight. Why do we need crypto? Well, we need crypto because we need to be in control of our own funds and do as we please without, the oversight of the government or the oversight of a bank or whatever. So yeah. Awesome. Good to have another miner on the call, and I think a couple of you guys are probably mining crypto pumps, and I don't know if the other guys here, but awesome. Um, so Casper is at 90% in circulation. I think it is at the moment. So we just ticked over, I think, to 90%. Um, so mining is an interesting thing, right? And it's something that it isn't. It can be amazingly beneficial for some, and for some that are in regions where, you know, the price of electricity is insane. Like some of our community members, I think in Germany, have indicated to me that the price that they pay for electricity is just insane. It cannot be that beneficial for them there. Now, the first question I always ask to people is, should I mine? I say, well, what's your electricity rate? You know, first and most importantly is, what is the rate that you are getting to mine electricity? Now, you know, in the States, I know you guys have access to some pretty amazing electricity prices. And I would say that anything under 10 cents is going to be appealing. But in some locations, I'm aware that you guys can get like 3 cents a kilowatt hour on your electricity rate. Now, I'm not aware of what your electricity rate is there, but it really depends. I suppose if you have if you've done the napkin maths, as I like to say, and you've done the calculations of your electricity rate, and you know you're at least it, ultimately, if you are making more coin than it would be to buy it, then definitely mine it. But if you like to look at it a different way, which a lot of miners do, if you would like to obtain KYC free coins without needing to on ramp through one of these amazing exchanges that we just talked about, who ultimately take a fee, you know, they might take 5%, or there might be a payment processing fee, and ultimately you're at the same rate. And if you factor that in, but you're still, you know, ahead, definitely go down that path. But I think there's a lot to be said about mining. It is not as black and white. It's not I have this, I mine this, I get this. Because there's strategies that can make things appealing, and there's strategies that can make things not so appealing. So, you know, not so appealing to me would be that every single time I need to buy coin, I need to go through an on ramp, right? I prefer to mine it. It goes into my wallet. I control it, and you know, providing I'm happy with my electricity rate, then yeah, I'm happy with that. Now, are you what rate are you sort of running at there? Are you yeah, I guess like I would ask you that question back first before I jump on to the next. I heard,
Very cheap.
yeah,
Yeah,
I've heard some of
that's in other
That's
countries.
that's 33
I don't think
cents.
you're getting that in the United States or
I've heard some people in Texas, I think it is, or some of that sort of region, I think, are getting 3 to 5 cents.
I think
But yeah,
sometimes you can rent out commercial buildings and talk your rates lower if you're going to be running a ton of stuff. So there
yeah.
might be
So
something like that going on.
what generally
I know someone that
definitely.
used to mine Ethereum, and they rented a storage unit, and they removed the light bulb, and they plugged into the light bulb and got the free electricity, and they were mining Ethereum during the last bull
Oh,
run.
there's some there's some pretty ingenious ways out there to get that free electricity. You know, you go rent a hotel room or something for the night, or go do whatever, right? Um, Often what happens with electricity companies is they love people to use their electricity. Wow, it's an amazing surprise. But if you can go to them and say, hey, I commit to use X amount of electricity 24/7, then you can get some pretty amazing rates, right? And so for home mining, sounds pretty unheard of to get 3 to 5 cents a kilowatt hour, or etc. like that, right? And I think, you know, the average in the States is probably 10 cents around there. But if you can commit to a large amount of energy usage, then they can run the numbers and it makes it feasible, because electricity isn't just what exists from your boundary inwards to your house, right? Electricity is well, does the grid nearby have enough capacity to have Mr. Black Tiger Miner running, you know, X amount of electricity 24/7? Have they got a transformer in the local area that can do that? So they may be saying, well, if Black Tiger Miner commits to pay us X amount of electricity for the next 12 months, then it's viable for us to upgrade certain parts of the grid or do whatever. I know I'm kind of oversimplifying it here, but there's a lot of elements to that. So long-winded answer to your question, but something I tell every single person that asks me if they should mine. And I really first stress to them, mining is not an easy game. It's not a quick win. It's not a. I'm sure that I'm preaching to the choir here. But for those that are you know, not that see it and say, oh wow, it's easy money. I can just mine and make, you know, lots of money. Um, that period did happen quite early with Kaspa during the mining period, and I'm not going to deny it, but the people that got in very early with at least when the first ASICs arrived on the network, they made a big bet because obviously they sent money off into the void to a company that nobody knew about, but ultimately, you know, they made off with some good profits there, and so mining is kind of about taking risks. It's, you know, taking a risk, putting, as we in Australia like to say, having a punt and seeing, you know, what are the results, right? So check out your electricity rates. More importantly, though, check out where you're mining, because a lot of people underestimate the value of the actual internal electrical wiring in their house. Are you trying to run a KS5 that pulls 3,500 watts off a 15 amp plug, and you're about to burn your house down, right? So yeah, check out the electricity rates, check out the supporting infrastructure of where it's going to be located, and then if all of the stars align, then go forward. But I do like to add, before I kind of answer the last part of it, there is an element of those miners that actually, you know, look at home mining. They look at the KS0 Pros or the Ultras or the KA boxes, and they're an amazing that Casper first and foremost can use right now. But they're an amazing tool to educate yourself, right? To learn about mining, because a lot of people learn, just like myself, learn by doing. So they're like, well, what's mining? Like, what's going on in that box? Like, is there something in there? Is there someone in there doing something? So, you know, if you can go get a little home miner, yeah, there you go, right? I love you've got the special edition one there as well. That's awesome. So if you can go and get one of those, you can plug it in, and you can, you know, literally see that. I mean, obviously you cannot see inside the box, so unless you had X-ray vision or something, but you can see this box is heating up, it's creating, you know, it's doing something, and the output of that is coin, hopefully on the other end. And so that is another segment of the market that's pretty awesome, because it can enable people that who have always been on the fence about mining, who have also always been like, well, you know, what are they doing? What is that? To just kind of jump in and spend a couple of $100 and grab one. So yeah, I didn't answer your third question though, which was, you know, I suppose what happens after the you know, the full allocation of Casper is out into the ecosystem. Now, ultimately, no one has like a lot of people have a lot of crystal balls. They have a lot of tea leaves that they like to read, and a lot of, you know, seeing the future. But uh, the way that I look at it is, and the way that I understand a lot of the much smarter people than me in the Casper community, there's no silver bullet for this type of situation, and that's even true for Bitcoin, right? For any project that has you know, the same principles as Casper, you know, in the way that the security budget kind of is allocated there. Nobody really knows what's going to happen at the end, but what they do know is there's going to be a number of different solutions, or at least in my opinion, a number of different solutions that will, you know, solve that ultimate security budget sort of question, right? So first and foremost, what we have today, and this is just my 2 cents, you know, I'm just a guy on the community with a microphone talking about my opinion, but first and foremost, I see that Kaspa, there's obviously the transaction fees, right? Now, that's pretty normal for any proof of work project. Bitcoin will be doing the same thing, saying, "Hey, transaction fees, blah blah blah." There's the everyday transaction fees. For me to Black Tiger Miner, I send you some Kaspa, cool, little fee there, right? There is then the protocols that sit on top of that, right? So there's the protocols that sit on top of Casper, just like I said before, is the way that I see it as the TCP/IP of the crypto world. There'll be the protocols that sit on top of Casper and utilize it. Now, unlike other protocols where they often um, operate in sort of a parasitic nature, they'll do everything in their own world. They'll have their own sequencer. They'll operate completely segregated, and then every now and again they'll communicate back to the layer one and send one transaction with one set of transaction fees back to the base layer, just to keep it kind of going along, right? The difference is Casper will and does offer the speed to enable every single transaction or every single protocol that operates on top of it to operate in sort of a based roll up sort of setting, right? And so again, it's another protocol, another thing, but ultimately I see many different things built on top of Casper, which is why I see it as kind of the ultimate base layer that will contribute back to the security budget, right? Transaction fees from everyday transactions. Right now we have Chaos T20 where every deployment, every fee goes directly back into the miner's pocket, right? I'm sure that you guys have probably mined through some of our pretty big events that have happened in the last year or two. And one of the recent times was, I think it was the deployment of the KDAO coin, where the amount of transactions in a day was insane, right? And so I remember hitting a block with some of my miners, and I think I got like 800 cats in one block. And now I'm not saying that's the silver bullet, that's not going to solve all our problems. But when you start realizing that Casper enables every single operator on top of its network to give directly back to the miners, right? The miners are the lifeblood of a proof of work network. Without them, the network wouldn't exist, right? We're giving directly back to them. We're stimulating the ecosystem and we're keeping it rolling. So again, lots of words, but I see many, many, many different things being built on top of Casper and many different things contributing back to that security budget in future. Do I know what will succeed? No, nobody knows. Do any of the Bitcoin maxis know what will succeed with when Bitcoin ultimately in 2150 or whatever, that all the coins are out in circulation? No, not really either. But I'd stand by the fact that the Casper team have put their money where their mouth is and say, we're not going to make the security budget someone else's problem. We're not going to give it to our great grandchildren. We are going to deal with it today, well, not today, but in our lifetime, and we're going to see what happens, right? And so, yeah, it's a cool time that we live in to be able to see technology like Casper go through its full lifespan. I'm not aware of other projects that are proof of work, fair launch that will fully allocated in that manner. So yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people call Kaspa ghost chain, because there's not much going on at the moment. Just transactions, KRC20, KRC721, the NFTs, but like all that's going to change, really, isn't it? With smart contracts, you'll be able to do so much more on it. And like Black Tiger Miner was saying, what happens? Like we're on 62 CAS block reward, so with the rapid emission schedule, we need the fees to kick in there to keep miners happy and keep the network secure. So um, do you think all with the base roll-ups and like maybe stable coins and all these IGRA labs, all these things are going to come on board? This will like secure the network. This will encourage miners to, because the hash rate is staying strong, like it's not going anywhere. So I think they're holding on because they know what's coming.
Look, I strongly agree. I mean, I don't want to be the most bullish person in the room, but I do have a lot of. My opinion is that I look at Casper in the last couple of years has been proving itself and building itself as this reliable and amazing base layer. It's the foundation of the house. It's the concrete slab that gets poured so that everything else can be built on top of it, right? And so it hasn't been amazingly sexy to develop for Kaspa in the last couple of years. You know, if you're a developer from the crypto world, you want to see like how can I jump in there and build with a language that I'm familiar with? Because for the tech like the people that aren't too familiar, from the at least the way I understand it, Rust is an amazing programming language, but it's not as forgiving to get involved with as a beginner. And so people kind of join the community either for the last couple of years have had the option of developing for the core technology, Casper itself, or or what can I develop with it? And now we are seeing the point in which the network has built its base layer, it is ready to go, and we are opening the doors to every single developer that wants to build their layer 2 on top of it, their protocol, their app, their whatever. And it doesn't have to be in Rust programming language, albeit there will be some options to do, hopefully with like Sparkle and stuff like that, where you can program in Rust. But the doors are opening and the developer community is taking a look at it. And I think we're going to see a lot of new faces coming into the community. So I'm pretty excited for it.
One more question. Who do you think will be forced? Do you think Kaspa Ecosystem Foundation or Eager Labs will be out first?
Look,
You have to
I
guess.
see. Oh no, I mean, I see that there's enough. The amazing thing about Casper is there is enough throughput for everyone,
Yeah.
and you know, throughput is it's not about the transfer, like it's not the TPS. It's not how many transactions can I send, because I see, you know, when I look at transactions and a lot of these metrics that people put out there, they get excited about, oh, how many TPS does your network do? And I think of it as like the mail center. How many letters can I send per day, right? I can send 100,000 letters per day, but it takes me 6 weeks for them to write. No, Casper sends 300 letters per second, or can send currently 300 letters per second, and they arrive every single second, right? Now, the reason why I say that is because I think that with us turning up the taps to 10 blocks per second, and even in a future 50 blocks, who knows? The throughput there makes it so that any network, any layer 2, anyone can build on top of it. And I don't see it as being a one stop shop. I think there'll be many different protocols or layer 2s on top. So long-winded answer, I don't think I could say, I don't think anyone's going to win. I think everyone wins. Everyone wins by building amazing tech. And so I think we're going to see that in the very near future.
Do you think because Caspa's UTXO also that there's any way that there could be some kind of relationship with Bitcoin and Caspa? Because I know that some people are working on stuff where, since Cardano, even though it's proof of stake, it's UTXO, it's extended UTXO, that there's projects working to be able to kind of do stuff with them together.
I'm super excited for that. I'm excited. Well, not like isolated with Bitcoin Casper. I think that
Yeah.
definitely there's going to be some. I think that there's going to be some smart people who will start doing some pretty amazing things to kind of bridge Casper to other projects. Have I heard anything about that in particular? Not yet. But I think this is the most exciting thing. We're going to see all these particular features that people have previously said, oh, why doesn't Casper do X, Y, Z? Well, people are going to build it as a layer 2, and it's going to be using base rollups, and it's going to be utilizing the Casper network. It'll be, every transaction will go to the Casper network first and foremost, and then be utilized on the layer 2. Why doesn't Casper have privacy functions? Well, someone might build a privacy layer 2 on top of Casper. It'll utilize it. It'll serve that need. Why doesn't Casper have, AI capabilities? Maybe someone's going to build a layer 2 on top of it. So I think I'm just super excited about that. But I don't know particularly in that Bitcoin case, but I think there could be some cool things from that. Definitely.
Yeah. But even the Bitcoin community is not all united because there's some
Yeah.
maximalists that they don't like ordinals or runes or anything else besides that. And I think maximalism's bad in my opinion because it's like, what are you going to look at coin market cap in 10 years and it's going to be one project on there and no other projects? I mean, the scams and all the kind of junk, yeah, you can throw that to the side, but it's going to be a multi-coin future. And even if Bitcoin just is the store of value, that's a big market. And if there's a lot of capital there that can shift into some kind of relationship, but we'll see. There's a lot of devs working on all sorts of different stuff, and that they can shift over from one project to another fairly quickly in the grand scheme of life.
I think I think I think we're yeah, I think you're correct. I don't think there's a future where it's one coin to rule them all. I don't necessarily see that. Although I'm, a huge Casper fan, I think that there will be different projects that interact. I think that Casper is going to be very, very key and central to that interaction as a base layer that everything else can kind of utilize. Will Bitcoin be utilizing Casper? I don't know. All I do know is that historically, the Bitcoin community has moved very, very, very slow, and has been adverse to any change. Now, some people see that as a positive, some people see that as a negative, but take that as you will. So yeah, we're not sure, or I'm not sure.
Time will tell.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You got to be careful. I honestly, and I say that, yeah, sorry, I was just say, I say that from nearly burning my house down. So we learn through doing. And I happened to be at home one day when a PowerPoint caught on fire. So yeah, learn by doing, and hopefully you never have that experience. Oh man. Yeah, maybe.
Right. Yeah. You already spoke to Igra Labs, didn't you?
Oh yeah, yeah. We I joined a space with XXIM, and we spoke with them. I also met Dennis in Dublin when I was there for the Casper Industrial Initiative. Lovely guy. Met at the event there, so it was good to sort of chat with him again. But yeah, they seem cool, definitely.
I didn't know if it was an advantage or not that all of those. Well, Dennis is from a Casper background. I'm after forgetting the name. What's the name? Dag Labs.
Daglabs, yeah.
Um, yeah. So I don't know. Would having a really good knowledge of Casper help developing the smart contracts, or is it just totally separate? It's just built on top of Casper, really.
I think I think ultimately, if a developer dedicates time to developing on top of Casper, they will understand everything that they need to be able to develop for Casper, right? They may not align with ethos of Casper, but they will understand what they need. Now, whether that gives the Eager Labs guys, an advantage, I think it just gives them insight into the community, perhaps because they kind of understand where things came from and how we got here. But does it give them a technical advantage? I don't think it does. I think it's just a matter of understanding the community and the nuance behind, where things are traveling. So, but yeah, but I think they're fantastic guys. Spoke to them on that call, and met Dennis, and yeah, it's awesome.
We weren't going to ask you about Binance or prices or anything like that. There's a couple of questions in. Is that okay?
Yeah,
Yeah,
look, I ultimately,
I know
the
you do. I
question
know.
is always the same, but I'm happy to entertain the thought at the moment. It's up to you. Yeah.
Your crystal ball, have you got it there?
Oh mate, I've been shining it up, but it's out at the shop at the moment. Don't have it with me right now.
Okay. So there's a question here. Casper would be better off if it laid off the politics, holding hundreds of thousands.
Look,
See that around
I
the world.
think that's that's something to be said. Everyone has their own opinion, and I think the beauty of Casper is the fact that there is nothing official. Like if I take it back to the base essence of Casper, Casper is a GitHub repository with a number of developers that develop around it, who contribute their time, their energy, their smarts, and a community that supports them. Is there a Mr. CEO at the top saying, we're going to talk about politics or we're going to talk about this hot topic? No, there is people just like myself who have an opinion, right? And so, everyone has different opinions. That's totally fine, and I respect that. But you can't take the good with the bad, right? I'm not saying political opinions are bad. I, I'm trying to, be very respectful because everyone is experiencing different things, but you can't take the good with the bad. You can't say Casper is the most decentralized project and anyone can take part. And then when anyone take part and someone says something you don't like, you tell them, no, 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 you can't take it. Doesn't work like that. Decentralization is for everyone. And it means that everyone can take part, everyone can be involved, and everyone has an opinion. And so you might have an opinion that whatever someone's talking about shouldn't be spoken about, but someone might think, yeah, that person should speak about that. So ultimately, that's just the way the world is, and that's how crypto is with decentralized projects. So yeah, it's a bit nuanced, but yeah, my opinion.
No problem. Good answer. We never asked you about the Made in America as well on CoinGecko and CoinMarketCap.com. Like the other lads are all based in the US. Me and you aren't. So if you do get attacked, go to us. But it's I look at it. I think it's good for people in the US. They'll if they don't have to if it does go ahead and they don't have to pay capital gains or whatever on the cash, but it's good for them. Like more people will get into it as an investment. But I understand that decentralized and it's for everybody, like you posted. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Look, I mean, my thoughts just come back to what I said, right? If in a country Casper falls into a category, then so be it. Totally fine. Like it's no sweat off my back. Ultimately, there's no official CEO going, Casper is made in America. Like anyone can say whatever they want, and more power to them, right? As you said, you and I were both not in America, so it doesn't really bother us, or what doesn't really concern us. We're not thinking about how our government is going to categorize Casper as made in Ireland or made in Australia. But if they did, I'm sure we'd support it. So I just ultimately bring it back to decentralization, right? Everyone is entitled to their opinion. Everyone is entitled to their view. And if your view means that Casper falls into a categorization, then so be it. And it is what it is. If it benefits Americans, if it benefits miners or people in that region, then yeah, let them have whatever they want. Totally fine.
I think that, and one factor is that it's one thing that it's listed on Coin Market Cap as made in America, which is basically meaningless unless the Trump administration uses that as their metric, because that gets people excited because the largest economy in the world could potentially have crypto investors with no capital gains, but that's not even anything that's like officially out
Yeah,
yet. So it's cool to see the hype and people get pumped, but in the end, there's not a lot there until the administration actually did something.
yeah. I don't think there's much depth to it, but it's cool. If CoinMarketCap and I think CoinGecko are now doing it, I'm not too
Yeah, I
sure
think
because
CoinGecko
they're
now, yeah.
probably seeing the fun that CoinMarketCap are having, and they want to jump in on it as well. Because the moment anyone talks about Casper, the absolute fanfare of the community is huge. So I'm sure they love that.
It's a
But yeah,
positive.
ultimately, yeah, definitely. I mean, whatever people want to do, more power to them. Does it? Do I give it much thought as an Australian? No, it doesn't. like, I don't think about that. I don't think about Casper made in America, at all. Does it? Like, I don't know about you guys. If you're all based in the States, except for crypto pumps, right? I think.
All I
Or
care about is not paying capital gains. I don't care. That's all I care about. And
That's
like
exactly
it's
my
kind of
thoughts.
weird. It's kind of weird that Bitcoin wouldn't be. I don't know. I mean, Bitcoin is kind of the same as like Caspa. It's kind of. I mean, we don't know. I mean, if the CIA created it, then it is made in America.
yeah, that's it, right? You never know. I mean, look, if my government said tomorrow that, I'm gonna not have to pay capital gains tax on crypto if we call it made in Australia, and then apparently we'll have a miner in every house and it's all made in Australia, we're mining these coins down under. Yeah, cool. You'll hear me talking about it because I'd love it. But like it is it doesn't concern me. But great for those that want to share it that way, and more power to them.
Okay, I have a mining question for you. How important is it to run a Rust node for decentralization? Sorry, can't talk. How important is it to run a Rust node for decentralizing the network if we are not mining?
Look, I nodes. So the way that I look at mining, you can't have mining without nodes, and you can't have nodes without mining. They go hand in hand, right? Do you possess the technical capabilities to set up a node? Maybe not. But I do encourage people, because it is very simple, to give it a go. And so I suppose the question is, how important is it? I see that it's valuable to the network, but ultimately we're not out there begging for people to create nodes, which is why we're not, paying people to do nodes, right? We're not saying, oh my God, you need to set up a node right now. Would I love to see every miner who mines have their own node, and should they? In my opinion, yes. But is it like the ultimate importance that right now we get 100 extra nodes? It's not a high concern. It's not something right now that needs to happen. Now, the network of nodes is hovering around 250 to 300 public nodes. The last time I checked, important to say public because there is the existence of nodes that are operating that are not public, right? And essentially what that means is people have created a node on their network, but they haven't port forwarded the port. And so that means that it's not visible as easy to the rest of the network, but they still exist. So I just suggest, if you're a miner, if you're mining Casper and you're at home and you want to learn something cool, a cool weekend project, build a node. A node can be literally just running the software on your existing computer. Although I probably don't recommend people to do that, just because you often want to turn your computer off at night. When you run a node, you want to leave it running 24/7 because it essentially needs to be running 24/7. But check out what other hardware you have in your house. Do you have like a whole laptop? Do you even have like a single board computer, like a Raspberry Pi or something like something like this, right?